Get the school hair out of the way.
Greetings, everybody. Trying to give everyone a second to join in. Sometimes it's better to laugh than to cry if you're a Georgia Tech fan. I feel like this is one of those moments. Right, Alex?
That's absolutely right. You got to talk about it. Get therapy maybe tonight. So we'll see.
I can tell you one person who's not really talking about it and busy doing is Brent Key.
That's right.
Brent Key did tell me he finally got some sleep last night for the first time since the game. So there's some good news there for you. I was a little bit worried about him, so I actually was checking about that. I was like, bro, make sure you get some sleep. I know you didn't sleep. I wasn't sleeping, so.
They're the way the calendar is now with transfer portal and signing day this week. They're not gonna get much sleep the next few days. So.
No, it's gonna be quite a grind for us. We got 2 very big basketball games as well in the middle of all this. I'll be hitting up and letting Alex do a little bit of extra sign-in day stuff. So yeah, so basically what we're going to do tonight is we will commiserate, talk about the Georgia Tech game, and then the Georgia Tech game, and then we will also get into a little bit of signing day and kind of where things stand right now for Georgia Tech as much as I'll put up on YouTube. We just dropped a war room on JOL. If you want to check it out, there's a promo going on right now. If you're not a subscriber, promo code is Rivals24. It's up on my social media. You get a year for $25 for a new subscriber. Check it out. Helps us out, helps us plan more coverage, build the site up to be bigger and better and badder for Tech fans. And that's part of all of this too, is getting more people on the boat, getting more people to keep going. So that's where we'll start. And it's definitely been a busy, really busy since Thursday night when all of the nonsense with J-Bat in South Carolina started up, and having to deal with that on Thanksgiving when I had family in town and all that fun stuff, and having people over to my house and having to call people on Thanksgiving just to track down sort of what I assumed was not really a particularly strong rumor, and then seeing some folks melting over it and freaking out as usual and all of those things. And the reality is, if you hire good people, whatever business you're in, there's going to be people trying to hire those people, and that's the way it goes. Jay's well liked in the business, has been under consideration for some big jobs over the last, even after coming to Tech, and eventually he probably will take one. But I didn't think this was the one that he would take, just knowing the little that I know about him and his situation and what that job is, having covered the SEC for many years before I started covering Georgia Tech and knowing the landscape a little bit. So I was not, I was more annoyed dealing with it than the actual thought of having to cover an AD search or anything, really coming out of it. And then, of course, when things don't pan out maybe the way that people expected, it turns into, well, he wasn't the top guy on our board, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of people probably didn't catch the last South Carolina AD search, but it was, as I recall, a weird one that ended up with Ray Tanner getting the job. So some of these, not every SEC job is a great job, and I'll leave it at that. And
I don't know. It just means more over there.
Certainly does for their officials, doesn't it? So
that J-Bat
let's go
stuff
back
feels
to the game. All right.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in the press box. I told Alex not to go to the game. I had a bad feeling a few weeks ago when I had to make the decision who was going to go. And sometimes I'll take Blake, my photographer. Sometimes I'll take Alex. And this particular trip, I was going to go visit with some friends and stuff. And so, and having a weird vibe about the game and everything. And the Tech at that point wasn't playing their best football. It was coming off the VT game. I was sort of like, why don't you stay home? There's an early basketball game. It's going to be a really late night. There's like a 1 p.m. tip or whatever Saturday. You stay home. I don't think this is going to be the year. And
You were right.
unfortunately, I was correct. In a game that should have been like 27-0 or 23-0 at the half or 20-0, whatever, 17-0, and like I was getting congratulatory texts from like people in the business, like, "Hey man, this is great for you, for your site, great for Georgia Tech, happy for all the guys there. We love Brent." Like people that are like not prone to do that stuff in the fourth quarter. And I was just thinking to myself, I was like, man, there's a lot of time left. Like I have seen this, I've literally seen this before, like 11 years ago, like when in Atlanta, when I thought they had them beat. And I was just like, I hope I'm not being jinxed. Literally, a couple of them, I just texted 4-letter words back to the people, like, because that was like my only thought as to what was going on in the game. And then I went down. I'm trying to remember even like the chain of events. I went down to the field before Georgia scored the game tying drive. So I was down there. I think that was when Omar got the phantom PI on the ball that was tipped at the line of scrimmage. That also wasn't a PI. That drive. So I was on the field from that point on in the game for all 8 overtimes, standing with half the time. So on one end of the field, on the close end of the stadium, I was standing with Angel Cabrera, like Brent Key's wife and daughter and family, and like a bunch of J Bat and like the other Georgia Tech sort of brain trust people, John Wells, all those people. And then on the other side, with just like some of the most like die hard, lowest of low totem pole video people from UGA, like who were like high fiving each other and like dancing and rap. So it was like a real juxtaposition each time they changed the side of the field. Um, and Cabrera actually came back and forth with me, which I thought was kind of cool. He was like walking back and forth, wanting to see Heat, and he looked at me and goes, "Man, this is an incredible game." Like in the second overtime or something, he was like, "We're watching history," and I was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, Prez, this is some like serious history you're watching." I was like, unfortunately, um, it's bad vibes, man. They've gotten out of so much stuff in that stadium over the years, and sure enough, they just couldn't get over the hump, man. It's so many chances to win that game, so many. It is going to haunt. That one is going to haunt literally like all those kids to their grave, and it's so sad. Like seeing everybody after the game, seeing Brent's reaction, seeing players crying, seeing like Haynes King or Jamal Haynes or like a lot of the Zeke Biggers was just absolutely in pieces after the game. Like, um, and I didn't videotape any of that. I was like, for one, my phone was like going to die because I kept taping every play as if it was the last play of the game, not knowing like if there was going to be like a DJ White moment where somebody like picks a ball off. Is there going to be? So I'm taping like both ends of the field, and I just killed my phone. And so, and in all my time doing this, that was the most devastating loss I've ever witnessed in person. And I was at the Rose Bowl last year for Nick Saban's game where they blew a game like that, and it was his last game, and you could kind of feel like something was up, and just they needed it. I mean, you saw in their interaction with Kirby Smart and Brent Key, there was clearly like, I think Kirby probably told. I haven't asked Coach Key, and I wouldn't share unless he told him to give me a green light. But like, I can imagine what that conversation which was probably like, "Hey man, you had us like, you know, bravo, like that's the best, And Mark Schlabach, who's an old friend and a Georgia guy, works for ESPN. He said I was talking to him like when we were all getting ready to leave at like 2 a.m. or whatever it was, And I was like, where does this rank? Like in the Georgia Tech game, he said it was the best game since '99, and probably the best game in his lifetime, other than '99. To me, the thing that makes you should be optimistic about, and I wrote about this a little bit. Maybe I didn't even get into it in my column, but like the fact that in 2 years, like he has closed that gap enough to where that happened. They had everything in the world to play for Georgia in that game. If they lose that game, they are probably out of the playoffs if they don't win the SEC championship. Like they had everything on the line. Georgia Tech was playing with house money. They were, whatever it was, a 3-score dog on the road. Like the fact that game was like that is a very encouraging sign if you're a Georgia Tech person. And that was the one thing that I heard from a lot of UGA people. I had like the Chip Towers, there were all these people were like in the press boxes leaving. He goes, man, the rivalry's back. Like that was the thing they were all saying. Like, but at what cost for emotionally for Georgia Tech fans? I guess that's a question. I mean, Alex, I open the floor to you to express the. I know you were absolutely devastated. I texted you like at 1 a.m. or something, and you were like in bed, like with sheets over your head.
That was after a walk around the neighborhood and sitting in the garage with my dog for about 30 minutes. It was rough. I mean, it's just I don't know, like people on the board, and I understand you're optimistic about it. I mean, I am. I think Brent Key's the guy. Like if there's anybody that can succeed at Georgia Tech at the highest level, it's going to be Brent Key. He cares more than any other coach would, and I think he's got the plan. But like even as crazy as it sounds, like if we go on to beat Georgia in the future, like there's always going to be this game. Like even when I see those replays or like highlights and stuff, I think about, man, that really sucked. Like we had a 14-point lead with 5 minutes to go and had, I don't know, 3 or 4 chances at the 2-point thing in overtime to finish it, and we just didn't. And I don't know, in the deep in my gut, if you see this flag over my right shoulder, I had it had it in there with me in the living room watching the game, and I was ready to run up and down the road and probably get a disturbing the peace call on me. But but deep in my gut, when we got that, when we went up 14 points with 5 minutes left, and they just went right down the field, it's like, oh my gosh, this
Yeah,
is
the ease at which they scored, and that was the nervous thing, the point where everyone, I think, things tightened up, if you know what I mean.
yeah, it was tough, and I don't know, like so much has happened in the 2 days since then, like more recruiting, good news, and like that, and that's kind of gotten my mind off of it. And I've tried to, like, I watched some college football yesterday. I watched the Falcons today, but I was kind of not really into it. And I don't know. It's just one of the weirdest things. Like, you just feel really, really good for 3.5 quarters, and you're just thinking about, man, I'm going to get to talk all the trash in the world because Georgia fans just are so up on their high horse right now, and they should be. Last 5 years for them have been historic. And
No, they've had an incredible run, and that's what would have made that so special, to be not a great Georgia Tech team, like a good team, but not a great version of Georgia Tech.
right.
You know?
And just bring them down a notch and kind of tell them that we're not a second rate program anymore. We're coming, and I think we still are. But we're just thinking about that for the whole game. Like, man, I'm gonna be able to kind of hold my head up around the Georgia Tech fans. I mean, the Georgia fans and the all over the place that we live around 365 days a year, and then just ripped away from us. And I don't know. It was to me, I'm a Falcons fan, but like this is worse than the Super Bowl thing to me because I care more about Georgia Tech football than I do about the Falcons. Like I'm diehard Falcons fan, but I'm not gonna like that Super Bowl thing was tough, but this is like something I have to live with for every day of my life because the way Georgia fans are. So, yeah,
So was it worse than like Mark Wohlers hanging the slider to Jim Leyritz in the World Series?
That was a little. I don't really remember that all
Were you
that.
too young? Like, see, I'm old. I was in
That
high
was
school then, so I
96,
was old
right?
enough. Yeah, I was old enough. I was watching the game. Like I watched every World Series from like 93, 92 on. So I saw, or 91 actually. Yeah, I watched all the Braves World Series and stuff, even though I was a Red Sox fan because the Red Sox were god awful then. And
I'll tell
like
you.
that's what it like reminds me of in a way, like losing a World Series like that, like losing a game like that, like just that heartbreak. And there were a lot of heartbreaking losses with Paul Johnson. I was at like some pretty heartbreaking. I've covered this game when George was on the other side of it too. Like I've Carson brings up the 97 game. That was something I actually wrote about like in my thing, I think. Hopefully I wrote about that. But Mike Bobo was the OC in the game, threw a touchdown. Corey Allen beat with like 5 seconds left in that game to win that one. And then that turned into Georgia Tech winning 3 in a row. So
I'll
yeah,
tell.
yeah, man. I don't know,
I'll,
brother. I feel for you guys. Like,
I'll
and
tell you
it
what.
hurt
It's
me, dude. It hurt my heart. My mom, who's not has no skin in this game whatsoever. I I called her and she was like, I turned the game off. She goes, she watched all the games. She goes, I turned the game off. In the when it went to overtime, she's like, I couldn't take it, like for you. And I was like, wow, like, um, but yeah, Alex, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no, you're good. I was just thinking, like, to me, it was like the I think it was the COVID year for the Braves, and they had the 3-1 lead on the Dodgers in the NLCS, and they blew that. And I was working at UPS at the time, and I think that Game 7 was on a Sunday night, and so I stayed up and watched it, and then I had to like no sleep, just went straight into work for like Monday preload at UPS, and I was in a bad place then. So that's kind of what it reminded me of. But yeah, I just as far as the game, as far as a game similarity, like not the same kind of pain, but just got the same situation in the game. It reminded me of that kickoff game against Tennessee a couple years ago, where
oh,
we won the whole, like we won everywhere in that game except on the scoreboard, like dominated. I think I had 400 and something yards rushing, just won that game. No reason we should have lost that game. And then Tennessee won it in, I think it was double overtime. That's what it reminded me of as far as a game that there's no reason in the world that we should have lost, and they came back and and lost it. So I don't know. That's the one. That's what it came into my head.
so
But yeah,
that one was the one that JJ Green fumbled the ball. He just needed a slide and the game's over. Like, and he was trying to score to make a good like it was sort of at that point in the game where what I feel like it wasn't totally like maybe you take knees, but it was damn close. And he fumbled the ball, and that was the
that was Butch Jones' garbage can year, like
yeah the
before he got
garbage
fired. I
can.
think that same year.
Oh
Yeah,
my
yeah, that
gosh,
stupid
I
garbage
forgot
can.
about that.
What a guy. But yeah, it's tough.
Classy
But
guy.
yeah, but I don't know. Like reading the message board and people being positive, like that's helped me to be a little more positive because I was not positive in any way on Friday night, Saturday morning, and um, but yeah, I mean, just knowing that's another thing. I know Brent Key's hurting worse than all of us, so that's what makes me like
He
he's
was
gonna
he
do.
was despondent, man. Like you would have thought that like someone in his family died. Like that's how I have never seen a coach like that upset after a game, which is it and he admitted it. Like I asked him the first question. He was like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "I think you're destroyed by this." And like he was like, "Yeah." Like he spent the previous 364 days trying to come up with a way to beat them and did it without a lot of key guys, like a lot of guys banged up and that the I think it was all summed up by that guy on Twitter that put the college football video game thing where they have like this injury chart. Let me see if I can find it. And it was like it's like how beat up your guy is in the college football game for those who don't play it. And it was like he said Haynes King, and it was just all red, which means like severely injured, like about to like literally like fall out on the field.
That's the other thing that kind of hurts me about the way the game ended was like Haynes King put on an all-time hero performance like that he would have went out in Tech history, and he still will be. But like, gosh, I just hate for him that fumble went that way because that's obviously what people's going to remember. But like he gutted that out, and he was healthier than he's been in the last month and a half. But he's still not. You can tell he's still not. Old Haynes King, and he just gutted it out. He played his tail off. And dadgummit, he deserved that. He deserved that win. He deserved to have that memory in Georgia Tech fans' mind. Um, the targeting, like, yes, it was probably targeting, but that's a very and I've ragged on the refs all year. They're bad. There's no excuse for it. ACC, SEC, but when you've got to play in the middle of the field, in the middle of the pile, and there's a guy, trying to put his head down and get yardage, you're not going to get that targeting call. Like, and I know people's
Here you go.
hates that, but yeah,
This is that thing that I was talking about.
yeah, that's about right. I mean, he was giving everything he had that game, but yeah, I hate the the officiating part of it is part of it, and the pass interference I think is worse than the targeting to me personally. But
Well, the pass appeared to be tipped, regardless of if you want to go even on the PI thing, and that was what Brent was arguing, that the ball was tipped. Even it's a borderline call. The ball was late getting there because it was tipped, and that was sort of Brent's argument. And you got SEC officials, you're not going to get that. Like, and that was the other thing Brent and all of them knew, man. You're not getting any calls in that game, like. And there were no 50-50 calls that went Georgia Tech's way basically in that game. And I don't know what you do about like the review thing either, because Brent's talked to me about this before, and it's like, and talked to all of us, and he was just sort of like, look, most of the time they're not going to overturn things unless it's like really obvious and go against their fellow refs. That's the view. And obviously there were holds on the last drive that were real obvious. I could see them standing down on the field. But again, like, that stuff happens in football every day. We watch it, and you just cannot put yourself in a position where those things can make a difference in the game. And the reality is, if Aiden Burr makes that short field goal, if they punch one of those field goals in for a touchdown, then it's all academic at that point. And that's the part that sucks too, like, about the whole thing. You missed a chip shot field goal. You missed a couple of opportunities to punch the ball in real close. And it's been hard to score on. Georgia's not easy to score on in the red zone like that anyways. And then you got into a game where you were literally having to score on like the 3-yard line with the stupid overtime rules. And everyone I talked to, including Georgia fans, all hate the new overtime rules. They thought it was stupid.
It's terrible.
Should just have to drive the field. Like, start at the 25, drive the field. Because you have typically like 3 plays you like as a two-point conversion thing. If you ask any OC, they'll tell you this. I've talked to tons of them in my career. They have a couple they like. And then you get into like, these are like our mediocre ones, and then they're just running plays because they've run out of them.
I just like I told you this yesterday. I know everybody hates ties, but I would rather them play a 5 or 10 minute overtime period, and at the end of it, if it's a tie, it's a tie. Like, this back and forth 2-point tribe nonsense is like penalty kicks in soccer. It's not representative of what the game is. It's just like just a lucky chance type nonsense. It's not it's not football that you play 60 minutes and I don't know. It's just crazy, but
So, all right. So I'll go into Jim's question here, because this was talked about by Brent, and I don't know if it's been brought up very much. The reason he didn't go for 2 there, and I know Paul Johnson would have, and a lot of other coaches I know, he said the reason they didn't go for 2 there was that he did not like Buster's call against their defense, like the particular play that he wanted to run. And so he decided to go for 1. And he took a minute. Like, I was standing right there. Like, he was standing right, like, I don't know, 10 feet away from me with like a clear view of him. And I could see him listening on the headset. And then he held up the 1. And so my thought was, he was being honest. He just didn't like the call. He was in a really, really intense state. But yeah, I'm sure the Georgia people would have taken a tie at the end of regulation, not knowing how that was going to turn out either. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, the 8 overtimes was insane. Both teams were just battered. That'll make for it. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like. You know, for them playing in Atlanta next week, playing Texas. Like, we'll see if Georgia Tech took a lot out of them or not.
They lost a 5-star corner in the portal today too, and I know he hadn't been starting, but
They started like their first 10 games, I think.
Yeah, like he's been playing. So and I think Kirby said today he didn't know if he's going to be with the team or not this week. So yeah, I don't know. It'll be hard for
And the
me
portal's
to.
not open. That's the other funny part about this. The portal
Yes,
opens
they're announcing their
a
intention.
week from tomorrow.
Yeah,
on the 9th, which is my birthday. So happy birthday to me. I'll be sitting at the computer with Alex all day, like this, like waiting to see like which names pop up in the portal.
there may or may not be some drafts of some guys that
Yeah, we
already.
always have that. I'm not going to try to get in on
But
that.
I'll say this for those asking about Haynes King. Haynes King is not one of them. So
He is not a draft yet.
no, he's not a.
Neither is Aaron Philo or anyone else that most of y'all care about.
Yeah. So.
Those meetings start Monday. Brent meets with all the players and they do kind of their exit interviews. I think it starts Monday. I don't know. It may have started today. I'm not sure.
You spelled it right, Will. That's right. Concepcion.
The NC State guy. I feel like that's like he's basically like Eric Singleton. I feel like that's not necessarily what they need. What they need is
Big
if
guy.
you wanted to go get a portal starting receiver, what you would look for is a guy that's 6'3", 6'2", can go get the ball up in the air. That's physical. That they need like a better Abdul Janae. And Abdul played really well this year, but like a better like a DeAndre Smelter or Darren Waller or Demarius Thomas, like one of those type of guys that can run to the sticks, turn around, throw like a forearm out, and box a guy out and catch a football, right, with giant mitts.
I'll say this about Abdul Janae. He embraced his role this year. He knew he wasn't going to get the ball a ton, so he said, "What can I do best? I can block." And he blocked his tail off all year in their secondary. And I'll tell you what, Chase Lane did the same thing. He embraced his role. He knew he probably wouldn't get the ball a ton, but he played his heart out there. He made some huge catches in the Miami game. He made some huge catches on Friday that will be forgotten because of the result. But
Yep.
But that's another thing that kind of encouraged me about the future is there's not a ton of like ego guys on the team. Like everybody knows what it's about, like what the goal is, and they're not not a whole lot of complaining about I didn't get this many carries, or I didn't get this many catches, or I didn't get to play this amount of plays. They're going to do what's best for Georgia Tech football, and I think most of the guys on the team have accepted that. So that's the kind of culture you got to have to be successful, especially this day and age with portal. So I don't know. That's an encouraging part to me from being around the team more than I have been, since starting this job. So, what situation with Will Blackburn?
So he just got beat out by other guys. He's a year removed from a pretty serious injury and got beat up. It's not like anything special. Like some guys aren't the same, man. Like after serious injuries, and he hasn't recaptured that magic yet. And sometimes it takes 18 months, 2 years for guys to get back there. He played on special teams this year. That was about it. And Isaiah Canyon basically took what was left of his snaps. He was playing a little bit with Janae, the two of them playing that bigger role, and then Isaiah Canyon stepped into it. And he, by the way, he had a very manly catch in the game too.
That was a huge play backed up on their goal line too. That's another one that'll be forgotten because of the result. But Yeah, Leo, like it wasn't just the one injury. Like he had
He had three very
two
serious
significant knee
injuries.
injuries, and what was the
He had
second
like a
one?
wrist like hand thing where like it was like broken somewhere in here and
So 3
couldn't catch
years
the ball.
back to back to back, he was hurt, and like mentally, like you know, you go through that kind of stuff. You're thinking like the next time I get on the field, I'm gonna get hurt again. Like it's a mental thing, and so I don't know. Maybe he's going through that, and I don't know. It's just he got thrown off track by injuries, just bad luck, and I don't know. He hadn't been able to get back into what kind of explosive player he was coming out of high school. So I don't know.
Keith coming with all the fascinating questions, brother. No one knows anything, and like the staff is what it is right now. I'm not speculating on who gets hired if someone leaves or whatever. I don't. As of right now, Brett Key's intention is to keep the entire staff intact as it is, and to go add a cornerbacks coach. That's the goal. I don't think Buster's. I don't think Buster's in a big hurry to take any other jobs at the moment.
And nobody knows who else is going to get fired. Like I know Neil Brown got fired today.
Yeah, Neil Brown. I think Marshall's going to open. I think Charles Huff's taking the Southern Miss job. That comes from like sources. I know people at at Marshall and Southern Miss that are connected. The AD was basically going to fire Charles Huff this year. He has right now has no contract for 2025. That's how like dire that situation was. The AD wanted him out, so he's going to leave probably as soon as they finish their game. Maybe I would assume he coached their championship game, but who knows? That situation's not good there. And I have a friend on the staff who's not the one feeding me information, by the way, but Jason Seymour. I haven't talked to Jason in like a year, but like great dude. Or since the summer, but he's his defensive coordinator at Marshall, Coach Boogie. All right, let's go into the questions, bro.
Yep.
And then if there's not a lot of recruiting, we'll come in at the end and do recruiting stuff. I'll talk a little bit about signing. We can.
First question up on the board is: Has Tech made a complaint about the refs behind the scenes?
So. They're going to complain to the SEC office, who will tell them to go pound sand.
Yeah, and like the best case scenario, you get a set thing and say there was a mistake made, where we're not going to do anything about it. So
Pyron's done; he's graduating. He stayed this year to graduate. He's been at school for 3.5 years.
Let's see. Next question is a Haynes King. Does Haynes King come back question like we talked about? Don't know. Like
no one's going to know anything. So the problem right now is Haynes' most valuable asset as a football player, his most valuable moment is right now. He has proven himself to be a very successful starting quarterback in the ACC. So you have Aaron Philo's the future quarterback right now. You have to make a decision if you're Brett Key and you have X resources and the kids don't agree. Like, it's one thing if Philo goes, cool, I'm cool being number 2 to Haynes next year. I just want to play a little bit or whatever. It's a different scenario if he's like, I want to be the guy, and you have a limited amount of money, and what do? Because you need to go get defensive linemen, you need to go get whatever. It's like when you had, and this is not apples to apples, obviously, but like, say you're the San Francisco 49ers in 90, the end of the 92 season. I think that's right. And you have Joe Montana, who has had some injuries that season, shoulder injuries, actually, I think. And you have Steve Young, right? And Steve Young played really well when he came in. And they let Joe Montana go to Kansas City Chiefs. Like, because it was the right move. Steve Young was a lot younger, a lot fresher, a lot healthier. How that all plays out, we have no idea. We have no idea what Brent's done behind the scenes. I'm not privy to that stuff. Like, I think Haynes would like to come back. I think Aaron's very happy here. But this is a wild, wild west time, man. Like, I am not like willing to bet on anyone being anywhere for any amount of time because people will throw stupid money at kids. Now, we'll see what happens. Charles got me with his question. I appreciate you, Charles. I need a laugh tonight. Charles with the GC3 joke.
Maybe next head coach at North Carolina is what I'm seeing on
That
Twitter.
is Alex. I laughed for like 5 minutes when you sent me that this morning so hard. That guy put that in a public space. A guy that gave up 70 points to JMU is the answer for your North Carolina head coach. Sorry, going back to Haynes. We're not in an age where everyone's all about those things. I don't know what Haynes King's prior. The thing with Haynes is I don't know Haynes King, right? Like that well. Like I know him as I know Aaron a little bit. Russell had the closer relationship with Aaron. I knew Zach really well. I had a great relationship and still do with him and his family. Aaron, I think met his dad a couple times and was in the Delta Sky Club with him, ironically, before the Virginia Tech game, but didn't get a chance to say hello to him. But yeah, I just don't know what the play is there, and that's one of those things we won't know, and it's so dependent on what other people are doing. I imagine if you're Mike Norvell, you're beating down Haynes King's door. You have Gus Malzahn. Haynes King would be a fit that they would probably like in a Gus Malzahn offense. Does he go after him? Does whoever else needs a quarterback? Notre Dame's been the king of the portal quarterbacks. We don't know. We
Did you
don't
say
know.
Did you say Auburn? I was reading the next question because
Oh,
they.
Auburn. I have not said the Hugh Freeze thing. I don't know that that would be interesting because there's some people with some strong opinions about Hugh Freeze that Haynes King family knows well. So I don't know that. And yeah, there is the injury thing with King too. Like he's had 3 really major injuries in his career that have cost him almost 2 full seasons. So we'll see what happens. I think that there's this is a time rife with speculation because of the portal, and that's what it is. And it's Brent's job to manage his roster and his money and be smart about it. They take really good care of Haynes King, but you know what is his priority? Because the reality is, I don't think he's an NFL quarterback right now, and I don't know that's magically going to change under anyone else's tutelage. Like his stock is not that huge, but could he turn it into more with it? Say he like has a almost one of those things where he's up for the all the quarterback awards and is in the top 10 in the Heisman odds and things like that. Then maybe you do have pro stock. Then I don't know. I never thought Stetson Bennett would get drafted, let alone where he was drafted. So you never know.
Well, Kyler Murray a few years ago, nobody was thinking about him as the NFL quarterback. He had gotten drafted by the A's to go play baseball, and he's completely shifted course when he got some buzz that year, when he had his huge year and got drafted up, by the Cardinals. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Haynes King's got a long term future as an NFL quarterback, but you you put some big numbers up, and I don't know. You just got to impress a few guys, and you
All it
become
takes
that.
is one to believe in you, really.
Right.
Like that's
I
the
mean,
way.
Sean
Brett
Payton
Favre
believed.
it took Mike Holmgren, right? He was a guy that turned the ball over like crazy. That was kind of a raging lunatic off the field by some accounts back when he was playing with the Falcons, and he goes to Green Bay and turns into like one of the 3 best quarterbacks of his generation. So you never
Sean
know.
Payton. Sean Payton believed in Bo Nix this year, and he's, I don't know, might be offensive rookie of the year. So I don't think a whole lot of other people thought that Bo
Don't
Nix
say
was
that
a
too loud around Auburn people.
first round quarterback. Yeah, I like Auburn had good, bad, and ugly Bo Nix, and even at Oregon, he was so up and down. But I mean, you get one NFL GM or coach to believe in you, you can be a first or second round quarterback. So, um, next question is says Georgia Tech has a real shot at taking a step up this upcoming season if they do well in the portal. How do you believe they will do? How do you think they expect the portal? I guess kind of like you were talking about today about what they're kind of looking for in the portal.
So they're looking for a lot of different things. And some of it depends too, like what happens with quarterbacks and all that, and different positions and stuff. I would say a big receiver, a big running back. Maybe a tight end body. They have a lot coming back in reality in that room. You still have two of your top 5 guys back. Brett Sather didn't play at all this year with his knee injury, and then Josh Beetham, who played even in the Georgia game, has been overcome a significant injury during the season to come back. He's looked good at times. He had a really nice catch in the Louisville game that got wiped out by a penalty. And then they have Luke Harpering, who they're really excited about, and David Prince, who's got a world of talent. So they have some options there.
And
Oh,
Jackson Long
and
too,
Jackson
right?
Long, yeah,
Yeah.
that missed the season too, and missed most of last year as well with
Yep.
injuries. A line they might take one. We saw there's a story up on JOL right now with Derek Simmons, who's from Western Carolina. Um, a depth piece possibly. The right tackle job is theoretically kind of a wide open situation. Could be Ethan McKinney, could flip Corey Robinson, play him there. I think Harrison Moore's a center going ahead, and then you have your other 2 guards coming back. So it'll be just a question of what that tackle rotation looks like next year, I think. Defensive line, tons of spots, tons of opportunities there. You bring back Romello, JJ, and Jason Moore from the key rotation guys. So that's where they're going to spend the bulk of their money, time, effort, is recruiting defensive linemen. They pulled 3 really good ones last cycle and then brought Jason Moore back, who went to Temple briefly. A linebacker. So that's someone asked about Josh Petty, since I'm talking about offensive linemen. Josh is a guy that's going to need to put some weight on. He's like 250 something pounds right now. And that's something that Ethan McKinney did a really great job with. Ethan McKinney, if you saw him in high school, was like 245, 250, and then was like he's like 300 pounds now. And that's where Josh Petty has to get to. It's just a question of how long it takes him. But again, like I said, Petty's a guy that could potentially push for a job, or Xavier Canales, or who's the other time? Oh, Demola.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, those guys could all compete too, along with guys that whoever comes back from that room, Jameson Riggs or Jordan Floyd or Patrick Screws or whoever. Like, I'm sure some of those guys will transfer out that aren't playing. Kai Greer, like one of those guys is probably going in the portal or two. There'll be like 20, 25 guys who end up in the portal. That's just the way it is these days.
Petty too. Petty too. We've talked about. He was wrestling like he was a wrestler, like a state level wrestler, heavyweight, like 250, 260. So if he early enrolls and he don't wrestle high school this year, he'll have time
He
to.
is early enrolling. All of the offensive linemen except for Bryson are enrolling early. Bryson can't because of the Baylor school being difficult.
That's what the Roush Connor told me today. Is Wesleyan wouldn't allow it, and I think Darlington up here does that too. You can't early graduate, which I don't know. I guess that's the rule, but um, but yeah, if Petty's not doing, going through a full wrestling season with that kind of grind, and he can get in early and put weight on before spring and like summer, have the whole summer. I mean, he's got talent. He's got a great motor, and I mean, his body's probably not ready to start day one in college, but I mean, get in that weight and conditioning program, and you never know. I don't know. Some kids walk on campus and are ready to play. So
I mean, look at Harrison Moore. No one thought that he was. People thought he was like a throw-in to get Graham Knowles. Like literally, people thought that. And I just remember the staff was really excited about him, and I didn't quite see it, but they saw how much he grew year to year, how athletic he was. He was playing tight end for a while in high school, and then moved, and then obviously this year he played tackle, guard, and center in games, and tight end. I don't. You probably have to go back to Coach Dodd to find the last guy who did that at Georgia Tech. maybe even before that, before it was called like a tight end, like whatever the terminology was back in the day.
Yeah. Next question is about Horace Lockett. Do you think he's being held for a medical red shirt? That's one of the next questions.
I think he's being well. That's not my. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. That's a complicated situation. I expect him to go in the portal based on what his agent tweeted last week, trying to drum up interest in him in the portal accidentally. I'll leave it at that.
Let's see. Here's a question about the game. What surprised you most in the game on Friday?
How dominant they were in the first three
Yeah.
quarters of that game. They dominated them straight up. Like, it was clear who the better team was for three quarters and 10 minutes of that game.
Yeah, I mean the way they dominated the run game was very surprising to me. I knew, like we talked about, I think last week, Georgia wasn't as good as they've been at the line of scrimmage, but I didn't expect Georgia Tech to run for whatever they ran for. I can't even remember now, but it was a ton of yards.
I love you, Keith. I appreciate this as a guy. And Claude's a good friend of mine. I love Claude Felton. He was one of the best people in the business. That's very funny. He's suggesting that they erase all the losses from the Jeff Collins era as an aberration in program history. The reality is there's only three, because there would have been 19, 21. No, it was two, because it was only 19 and 21. They didn't play in 20. So so I guess that would equal out to the two that the two that you can counter that with, like the two World War II games or whatever that Georgia like claims they didn't play or whatever.
Whatever the Georgia folks can do to.
That's one of the things. If you want to know if something's a rivalry or not, if they're arguing about who played what in the war when World War I or World War II, or like, it is a damn rivalry game. Like if anyone cares that much about what the record is, like, just point that out to them and tell them to shut up and go back in their hole. Like, because that's like ridiculous. Like, that is one of the most key things of what a rivalry is. And by the way, there are lopsided rivalries. I covered Georgia when they lost like 11 of 12 or something in Florida, when I was a student there, and then covering stuff. And that wasn't that long ago either, brother. That was in, the last 20 years. They were getting whipped every year by Florida. So I would remind a UGA fan of that too the next time they give you grief about what's gone on over the last like decade. Because Georgia Tech's beat them twice in the last 10 years, and they went a lot longer than that, struggling with Spurrier.
That I remember the Rick year where the whole team ran out on the field, and that was kind of when they decided they wanted to turn the rivalry around. When they
Oh yeah, I remember that. They scored a touchdown and then everybody ran out. I was working for CBS Sports at the time doing stats. Yeah, they ran onto the field in the end zone and they took a penalty or something for that.
Yeah. There's another question about what we're
There you
calling.
go, Will. Congratulations. You got the Jeepster to follow you back.
I tell you what, people talk about Buster and Santucci,
Jeep
and
is up for the recruit of the year, in my opinion. I will
he
take him for
needs.
that.
I think Georgia Tech fans need to be having that same kind of energy as far as keeping Jeep Wade around, and worrying about him, because he's a pretty big piece of the puzzle for the coaching staff.
Kids love Jeep. Jeep is a great dude. Like, he is the most likable O-line coach that I've covered in a long time. And no offense to Brent when I say that. Brent will probably tell you that too. Like, Jeep is just salt of the earth, man. Great dude.
Next question is this the best game you've ever witnessed? I'll say no, because I hated the game the way.
It's interesting. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, the most insane, to me, like the best moment in a game might have been like the blocked field goal against Florida State in 15. Like, because that was so improbable what happened that day. Um, like, it's tough. And I covered some interesting ones with Georgia. I remember watching Mark Richt lose to Nick Saban in Death Valley when he was the LSU coach, and the earth was shaking because the stadium was going so crazy. Like literally the ground was vibrating. That sticks out in my mind. But that wasn't like that game wasn't a great game. LSU just came back and beat them.
I thought the Clay Cersei game in Athens was
the last two Georgia wins in
yeah.
Athens were pretty incredible. The Orange Bowl against Mississippi State, as Gregory's talking about in the chat. That Miami game this year was pretty incredible with the way the game ended and everything, and them having had so many of those comebacks and all that stuff, and getting the strip and all that at the end of the game, and then be able to take a D at the end of the game. It's definitely up there, man. Like, I've been to a lot of field rushings over the years. Like, I was at one last week in Oklahoma. I think for most Tech fans right now, if you could beat Kirby when he's at the top of his game right now, that would be up there.
Yeah. That's another somebody brought up in the chat was about Jamal Haynes.
The stretch, yeah.
That was incredible play. That
then he walked the dog, didn't he? After wasn't that like a celebration? Somebody showed me that. Like, was it that play that he did that? Like he like pretend like he was walking a dog.
I don't know. I missed that. I might have been up running around the living room, doing something. I don't know. But there's a question about Key. Is he going to tell Santucci to kill the prevent D or not medal?
That's an interesting situation. I think with what was going on at the corner position, it was hard to. You had Warren Burrell playing like at 30% out there. Keith Philo would not lose his. No one loses their shirt for the bowl game. They changed that rule this year.
Yeah.
So if anyone that's on the 4-game bubble plays in the bowl, it doesn't count against your red shirt. So they did that because of all the people opting out.
You could tell that Burrell was not.
He wasn't himself. No.
Well, that touchdown that I think the one to get him right might have been the one they went for 2 on early in the third quarter maybe, but I mean the guy like Burrell like just got out there and didn't have anything in him to like make the tackle in open space. You could tell he wasn't right, and he was just having to play because they were just dropping like flies out there. It's just more typical of the year they've had of the worst injury luck of, that's another thing, like for them to go through as many injuries as they have this year and to be 7-5 and for, pretty much beat Georgia for 3.5 quarters. That's something for optimism for Brent Key's way to coach the team. So
Gunner is asking the bowl game. My money's on the Sun Bowl right now. I think they could get a fun rematch with USC there. That would be a fun game. I think that not a lot of people want to go there, would rather stay on the East Coast. So I could see that. I have no idea about Zeke or whatever. I think they all have to play in the bowl game as part of their NIL deals. Cy Gibbs did have a rough go of it at the end. Cy Gibbs, another guy playing hurt. He's been banged up. He was playing because of all the injuries in the secondary and them having to move guys around. They had been playing Clayton there at the nickel and playing Omar and LaMiles. And they were just down a lot of guys. Tay Seymour was banged up. You were out without Shelley after like the first quarter of the game, maybe. I think he got hurt. Looked like he got a concussion, maybe. Then Zachary Toby got hurt. And then you had Warren Burrell playing, who was an emergency guy. If it wasn't Burrell, then it would have really gotten sketchy because you would have had a true freshmen playing their first real snaps. Who else was banged up? Obviously, Kyle Eford was messed up, not himself, and played really hard. Yeah, they were just, it was not, they weren't 100%, man.
Yeah.
And yeah, if they would have rather have had a healthy Rodney Shelley or Toby out there instead of Burrell at 50% or whatever he was.
There's a question about Brent. Not why didn't he go off and about on the officials about the targeting fumble play?
He was
I mean, I guess he didn't really know what
zapped,
was going
man.
on. Yeah, like
It
I
was
don't.
like he watched somebody get murdered in front of him, like the way the game ended. Like and that sounds extreme, but that's how probably real it was for him, right? Like, and he was in complete shock, I think, after the game. Like, so that's, and what is he going to get out of that? Like, that's they're clap like the SEC people, like Greg Sankey is probably like sending all those dudes bowls of fruit, man. Like that officiated that game. Yeah, there's still a Gator Bowl tie, and the Gator Bowl is one of the places one of the guys had them going. If they had beat Georgia, I thought that was their most likely destination. I think it will be interesting to see who pushes for Clemson if Clemson's not in the playoff. So that's the sort of X factor with that one. That I could see them pushing hard for Clemson or the Belk Bowl fighting over Clemson, and so we'll see. Duke might go to the Belk Bowl maybe. Duke doesn't travel well, so that'll be interesting as well.
I mean, Miami too. I like if they're probably not going to the playoff now. They might be a Gator Bowl. I mean, they don't travel well either, but
Yeah, I could see that. I could see them definitely going.
there's a question about Key. Is he aware of his blind spot as a coach in game management? I think we've talked about like he's learning. Like
Ryan
he like
Day, how long has
evaluates
Ryan Day
himself.
been a head coach, right? Like these guys make mistakes. Kirby went for two in a situation where it made 0 sense to go for two. And he couldn't even really defend it after a game. He just said that's what the book said. And the UGA writers were joking with me, a couple of my buddies on their beat, that they think the book is literally just a series of green, like a flow chart that's just green in the second half of a game that says go for two every time you score when you're down, like because it made 0 sense going for two there. So and it cost them winning the game in regulation, right? Like if they kick an extra point there, they go up with the extra point on that last touchdown, and then Georgia Tech has to try to get in field goal range on that last drive. It changes the whole thing. So we see these people make mistakes all the time. You were lucky to have Paul Johnson, who was a guy who had been a head coach for like over a decade before he got to Georgia Tech, and had coached in a lot of big games, even though they weren't at the same level as Georgia Tech was playing at in championship games and stuff. And he was very good at game management. And Chan was an NFL guy who was like pretty good at it. And O'Leary was a guy that was turned out to be pretty good at it. But like Brent's new at this. Like give the guy a little bit of time, man.
The analytics thing too, like uh, the new bit. One of the big things now is if you're down 2 touchdowns late in the game, you score the first time, you go for two, and then the second time, if you get it, you can kick the extra point. If you don't get it the first time, you'll have a 50% chance to get it the next time. So if Kirby went for two on that first third quarter touchdown, and he didn't go for two when he was down 2 touchdowns and cut it, I don't know. For him to talk about the book like that, it's like if he's going by the analytics book, he didn't really, I don't know, didn't really follow it at the end of the game the way it sounded like he was following it. So I don't know.
Here's a question about, so were they were at the 45?
I don't
The wind
remember.
was swirling in the stadium. Um, that was not there was no wind aid kick it into that kick into the closed end zone. The wind was going the other way. So no, I would have thought that would have been 50 something. I wouldn't have tried to kick it there. They've had kicks blocked this year, and yeah, I don't think you try that in that situation. I think you go to overtime and try to win it overtime in that spot. You don't have Aiden Burr is great. He missed a 20-something yard field goal at the beginning early in that game, and he's not Harrison Bucker. Like you don't try to kick it.
I thought we got a bad spot on the Singleton play. I know
There were a
that
lot of interesting spots. I enjoyed the one where the guy like played with the football for like 5 seconds. And
The
did you see, you know what I'm talking about? Like when they brought the chains out and he's like
yeah,
moving the ball and changing the spot. And
that was it. I think at the end of the game, I can't remember.
yeah, it was on
Um,
the third down. It was third down and one or whatever.
that
Yeah.
the
And
spots in the first, I think it's our second offensive drive when Pyron went in on that third down. He got a bad spot, and then King got a bad spot the play before that. Um, that probably should have been a first down. I don't know, but Georgia got a couple bad spots on that next series too. We got the fourth down stop. So I don't know. It's SEC officiating is bad. ACC is bad. It's just
they're all bad. I watched
it's
a bunch of games this weekend. All of them were terribly officiated.
let's see. Here's a recruiting question on here. What does last night's game do for recruiting? I've been posting since I don't know 7 or 8 o'clock last night. Response from commits mostly, and it's all like they're not thinking about there's a loss. They're thinking about is like Georgia Tech has kind of announced they're on they've arrived on the scene now, and these kids are thinking like we're going to take it to the next level. So that's
They
the
went 2-2 against top 10 teams basically this year,
yeah.
right? Like lost to Notre Dame with your backup quarterback and your starting Mike linebacker out. Okay. And then you beat Florida State at the beginning of the year before they turned it into a dumpster fire. And you beat hold on a second. Oh, sorry. Tay Harris is inviting me to his signing day. I was
I
like,
got
Tay
that.
Harris has shared something with you. And I was like, I better click on this to make sure it's not something else.
Yeah.
I guess I'm further down the list than Alex was because Alex got his before the show started. Uh,
Uh,
um,
that's my Northwest Georgia compadre up here, Cedartown. Maybe he can make people forget about Nick Chubb at Cedartown and think about Georgia Tech a little more
until we trash
fondly.
somebody at his thing. Um, sorry that like they just threw me for like a second. I need to let's do a little reset real quick here. Uh,
I'll say this: somebody was asking on the board about Christian Garrett today. Like people still thinking like maybe he's talking to other teams. He, I can't remember specifically what he said today when Peyton Joseph committed, but he was something to the effect of like yeah, let's like change things in Atlanta or something like Christian Garrett's committed. Like he's in, so he's not one to worry about this week. I'll just say that to whoever was asking. I can't remember, but
take a minute here. Thank our friends at Section 103, where you get all the best Georgia Tech stuff. You can get your Haynes King shirt, which I think would be pretty epic right now after the Georgia game and his performance in that game. You can get the North Avenue Trade School one, which I love. They have lots of cool stuff. Great people, Georgia Tech stuff. People always complain about not being able to get gear they like. Go to Section 103, support them. The more stuff you get from them, the more they can do. So help our sponsors and go shop Section 103, especially with the holidays coming up.
yeah.
Someone asked if I know what Kirby and Brent talked about. I do not yet.
I don't know. Key probably
I'll
said
probably find out. I don't know if it'll be something I can share, but I can find out.
like Key might have told him, "Hey, you got off the hook this time, but no
I'm
more."
coming for you.
That's right. There's a question about the portal. When do we expect guys hitting the portal? I mean, within the next week and a half, I would say it's probably
Yeah,
when
you'll start
they.
seeing announcements probably tomorrow. Like, guys, I'm intending to go in. They can't go in until the 9th. But you'll see the ones. Some of the ones you're seeing going in now are guys like at FAU or places where they fire. You'll see like West Virginia, UCF, place where the coach left. Those guys can go in immediately. And then there's some people like the guy from Georgia announced randomly, like today, the Humphrey kid. There's some of that going on, but not a ton of that. So we'll see.
I think Auburn had a tight end announce.
Justin, that's not a reviewable play. They can't review to see if the ball's tipped, as I understand it. There's no reviews on pass interference play calls.
But we did talk about it, how bad it was.
We did talk about it earlier in the show, though.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Tay Harris would have been something going on with Tay Harris would have been like the penultimate breaking news story. And by the way, Clemson getting picked apart right now in recruiting.
Yeah.
Holy smokes!
They lost
They lost their other safety
safety to
to
Michigan.
yeah.
And then
Jordan Young.
I think they flipped a offensive lineman today, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Feel bad for Dabo, but not really. Let's
Eric, they
see.
weren't going to review it either way. So let's be real about this. We know who the crew was. They weren't
Yeah.
reviewing that play.
There's another recruiting question. Do you believe we flip anyone based on the game? Well, they've already flipped someone today. I don't know if it's based on the game. That's been in the works for a while, but I mean, we've had 3 flips in the last week, so I think the game, whether the game went that way or didn't,
No,
it
that's
is.
not. I mean, the only thing that happened is Tay Harris took down his snarky tweet about like people giving him grief. He went at it in the middle of the game, like with the people. He was tired of them talking smack about why he committed to Tech. And then when the game went sideways, he probably put it up. But now after Clemson lost to the Cox, he can probably put it back up because the Clemson people aren't going to say anything.
Yep. Let's see. I'm trying to get over all the repeats. There's a question about Santucci's defense with 5.5 minutes left.
Oh, the prevent is I don't. That's a question we could ask Tyler if when they let him talk at the bowl game in a couple weeks. For like bowl, like that'll be the first time we can probably talk to Buster, and Santucci will be in the bowl week, wherever that is. I'll try to do that. I'm sure he'll be real excited to answer questions about the Georgia game from 3 weeks ago. At that point, or 4 weeks ago, or whatever, or a month ago, depending on when the bowl game is.
There's a question about bringing Pyron in on 3rd and 1. I mean, it seemed to work in goal line situations early in the year, so I think you would think you could get a yard there with Pyron. So I don't know.
They were also probably trying to give Haynes a breather for a second. Justin with a question about the 2-minute warning. They put I feel like they put time back on the clock on the fumble, like they put 2 seconds back or something. So that's why
It went back to 2:05, and they'd already taken the 2-minute warning, like commercial break, and then it actually got the 2-minute warning. They just kept it at,
they just stayed on the field and gave them like a
Yeah.
minute instead of like 30 seconds.
Yeah. There's a question
Yeah,
about
maybe they can review to see if somebody tipped or not. I don't know if you can pick the flag. I just don't know that rule well enough, like to tell you one way or the other. Sorry. You weren't getting that call in Athens with SEC refs, dude.
no. There's a question about here about Pyron entering the transfer portal. I think we talked about that. How many GT players? I think we said some probably up towards the 20 players maybe in the portal. I don't know. It's going to be a lot of players.
2025. That's going to be the average for every team.
Yeah, everybody's going in. Like it's
Georgia,
going to be,
Kirby's talking about 40 guys going in or something.
Yeah,
So
it's going to be madness over the next month. So, let's see. There's a question about McKinney and Moore like rotating with Robinson.
Yeah, that's been a plan. That's been intentional. They wanted to get those guys in and get them some reps. And Harrison Moore played like a dude on that last touchdown drive that Georgia Tech scored. He was mauling people. He's going to be really good. They're really excited about his future. And then Ethan's playing really well. Corey's playing well in pass pro, not as good at run blocking. So that's why those guys are rotating. And Joe Fusil has had a shoulder thing maybe. So that's why. Iconic Media is correct about the reasoning for not keeping it back into Chip. None of the backs are particularly strong at pass pro, and that was not happening.
Yeah, I mean that's another thing in the portal that they'll probably be looking for is some
a big back that can do that stuff.
Depth at running back.
All right, so this guy's asking about. I'll do a recurring question here about linebackers. This is an incredibly weak linebacker class. Georgia Tech has a couple of potential linebacker guys. You have Carrington Coombs. They're still trying to flip a guy, and the rest of them was just a bad class, man. Like it was not. They would rather just go in the portal. You got to remember right now they have Kyle Eifert back. You have Jackson Hamilton back. You have EJ Lightsey back. You have Tajay Butler back. Did I overcount on my hand? I think so. You have four guys all back. You play 4 guys in a game. So now you just need to find and really Tajay was the guy who got squeezed once EJ Lightsey started playing well. Tajay is going to be the heir apparent for Trent Tatum at that weak side linebacker spot. So like you're really just looking for one more guy who can play right now and then figuring out from there. There's no Ben, there's no J Bat news because nothing's happening there. He's as of right now has no offer and no intention of leaving Georgia Tech. Could that change in the next week, month, 6 months, year? Yes. But as of right now, nothing. That was a pretty much drummed up off of like someone misinterpreting someone else's report and then going crazy on social media and riling up Tech fans. That's what happened there.
I think going back to the linebacker, I think I'm excited about what Butler's going to develop into in the next couple of years because he's got all the athleticism and tools, but like he's like he's all go 100% all the time. The more he's in the system and plays, and he's going to develop the instincts to kind of get that right with his athleticism, his ability. He's going to be a really good player. I just think he just needs more time to figure it out.
Yeah, I think the game, when he understands what's going on in the game, that's going to be the big difference for him. It's not as much about the like he has the natural tendencies, the things you're looking for that are harder to teach that position. The things that's made it hard for some guys to try to transition a linebacker from other positions. He has all of that stuff. It's just understanding the defense and what he's supposed to be doing on every play that's the issue for Tajay. Once he figures that out, I think he's going to be a really special player.
I was looking at the question about the and I think Will kind of answered it about
having a back end to chip on
the one about after we got the pass interference on the 2-point try and we got it closer. I think about attacking the edge. Yeah, I think that might have been the play right there that would have won it. You could see Jamal was frustrated about something. I think
he missed a give on one of those.
If that gets handed off to the guy in motion, I think he gets in there. But I mean, can't fault anybody. Like everybody's trying to make a play, and King was nails the whole game. So, yeah, that was a tough one looking back. There's a question on here about women's basketball. You want to answer that one? I don't think we either know a whole heck of a lot about it. I mean, they're off to a pretty dang good start with Nail this year. It seems like they've got a lot bigger.
I haven't. I'll be honest. I have not watched a second of the women's basketball team this year. Sorry, guys.
And a women's basketball recruiting
I need to
question.
get Bronson. Bronson wants to go cover some women's basketball games. I need to get him credentialed for that. We just haven't had time. I haven't even had time to really think about it. I tweeted out today some congratulations. I look at the releases and stuff and all that, but no, I don't know anything there for you. Sorry.
There was a question about the chances of getting Kate Harpering as a recruit. I don't know if we dug into that very much either.
Man, she seems like she's going to one of those big time, UConn kind of deals.
Yep, UConn, South Carolina type player.
I don't know anything about it though, but
I mean, she's got the name Harpering, so that's the one thing about it. So, said, how close would you say he is to building the depth he wants 1 to 2 recruiting and portal cycles? I think they're pretty dang close with this class coming in and, where they're going to be after transfer portal. I think next year's they're going to have more depth and hopefully less injury, bad luck. So I think they're pretty close. I don't know if you think differently, but
Sorry, I was fixing something. Delta gave me an upgrade I didn't want for a flight tomorrow. They were trying to move me into a middle seat in Comfort Plus.
Oh yeah, headed out to Oklahoma again.
I don't want to sit in the middle. No one wants me to sit in the middle of them. So I did go change that real quick. I forgot to turn that off on that particular flight, thanks to their bugs in their system. Sorry.
No,
I just wanted to do it real fast before someone else, like, make sure there was like a seat I could change to. Interesting question from Justin here in the chat. What do you think, Alex? You're the tech fan.
I mean, yeah, like it shouldn't be. It should. I know it's going to be more red than gold in there, but it shouldn't be a crazy like disparity like it had like it was at Bobby Dodd 2 years ago or last year. Um, I mean, they've shown they can compete with them now. So let's. I mean, this is a thing that I posted about earlier in the year. Just fan support altogether. It's got to get better. And I've argued with people about it, and I try to not go back to it this year a lot, but it's just got to get better. Like I understand that we're waiting on things to kind of turn around, but there's
They don't turn around without people showing up.
yeah, and um, I know people's got a lot of stuff going on, but there's other schools, like there's other programs that maybe are not even as good as a spot as Georgia Tech right now, and their fans show up, and it's rarely empty-ish like some of the games have been this year at Georgia Tech. So I don't know. Hopefully that'll change. I hope so.
Andy's
And get the
making me
goals right.
smile with my favorite question. When are they going to get the gold right on the uniforms? I've been doing this is my 15th season, 16th season, whatever it is. 2009 was my first year. That has been a question for every single year that I've done this.
I don't even care so much about the shade of gold. I just want them to wear the gold at home more. Like I don't know.
Alex is one of those people. I don't care. They could wear pink for all I care. Like I don't, but I'd prefer they not wear pink. I feel like that would cause a bunch of
I just
drama on my
I, I,
social media.
I like the gold at home. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's another tradition, white and for most of the home games, but I don't know. I like the gold. And I told somebody earlier this year I like the navy blue. Sometimes I know people don't really like that a bunch, but um, yeah, wearing white at home every game, every home game. I don't. It's not great in my opinion, but
Ooh,
who
Charles
knows?
coming in hard with the yes. I know the orange on the uniforms don't match the helmet in Texas. That's correct.
Yeah.
We're not getting into Kate Hartbring recruiting? I don't know. Neither one of us have enough knowledge of that. I just have been told that's what's to not expect her to come. And maybe someone in the chat can answer your question, brother. But Nick, I can't.
Here's a kind of an oddball question, I guess. Do you have any sense of how Anthony Carey's navigating the transition, and do you see him sticking around, stepping up next year? Well, I mean, I don't.
We don't know. Like
Yeah,
I know Anthony Carey a little bit. I spent time with him one day down in Florida before he signed, and we've had a couple like private conversations, and that's it. Like I don't know much about him. Like so I can't answer that. I don't know. Barry's asking about Damon and the slow start. Brother, they lost to number 15. They lost to a tournament team probably in Georgia, and they lost to a team that's going to win their league in North Florida. So let's hold back until they like lose to somebody they should lose to. The North Florida game they were favored probably shouldn't have been in reality. Georgia's a little bit better than people thought they were because they hit on the Newell kid, and then that Kirill kid's not terrible either. The big and Mike White can coach. Mike White's a really good coach. Like okay, and then North Florida they're going to win their league. Should unless they have injuries, and then Cincinnati was top 15 team in the country. So
I think they are now. Yeah,
yeah, So
I mean, Wes Miller's a pretty good coach too. He learned from the best, in my opinion. So, um,
yeah, somebody asked if we're going to do like a show about why you're a Carolina fan during the off season. We could do that. We could have Alex come on and explain why he's into the Tar Heels and all that. And
I'm gonna stay off the board next Saturday. I'm probably I don't know.
you wanted to go, man. You were like asking me if I'd send you up there. I felt like you couldn't check your.
I don't I don't know if I want to go now after seeing that performance in the Maui Invitational from the Tar Heels. It's not
That
looking
might
like
be a
one of the
dub
best.
for the Jackets, man. That might be another win. And
They
the Damon's been very good at like upsetting these weird teams that are good, like getting his team up for those.
I mean,
That
I've
might be
seen
my
the
birthday present from Damon. I'm going up there right before my birthday. They might go crash the old Tar Heels.
I've seen the last three games the Georgia Tech's played, and Nate George looks a ton better than he did those first three games. And Dongo seemed like he almost had a double double last two games. So I mean, they're playing better, and they don't even have McCollum and Reeves didn't play yesterday, and so yeah, I mean I don't know. I still feel like they're a bubble team. So they've got all the pieces if they can get everything together like they should.
Justin, because you're a Georgia Tech fan, that's why you feel that way. He's asking why does he think that Georgia's going to beat Texas and get a bye. So that is the Georgia Tech fan, and you talking. It's okay.
I said that to several people yesterday, and whatever. It's like, of course Georgia's going to go on and win the whole thing now, and
No, I don't. I think their team's too flawed.
I,
Like that would be very surprising to me.
yeah, I mean, I
It
hope
would
so.
be funny in a weird way if Georgia they should have lost to Georgia Tech and had not gotten help to it, and then they somehow win it. It almost put like a little bit of an asterisk on it, but I don't want to see like I don't want to deal with the next whatever 8 months before the next season kicks off of Georgia Tech fans being in their feelings if they win another one.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be rough.
That's not good
Um,
for any of our hells.
no. There's a question on the board about any word on a contract extension and raise for Key. Uh,
I'm sure those things are being discussed now. Key's primary focus right now is just making sure his staff's taken care of, but I think that all that stuff's coming.
Let me think. Here's a question. So you were talking about Cabrera, like you probably know a little bit more than I do. What's the things he's done in the last year or two that's kind of got things going in the right direction athletics wise? I mean, he's
J
kind of
Bat.
Cabrera too, just kind of I
Oh,
guess committing more to athletics than it has been.
so Cabrera was living and dying with that game on Friday night. He's invested, and there were a lot of people that were kind of like, "Oh, he's." I have really good friends that know all of these people and are involved with all of them, and one of them was like pretty adamant early on that he thought Cabrera was just kind of going through the motions when he fired Todd and they hired Jay Bad, and he's like, "Yeah, he's saying the right things, but what are they really doing?" And he has like done more and more, like trying to like capital campaigns, all of those things to raise money, donating his box potentially for something like in the stadium. Like there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes, and trying to raise and level up the athletics program. And I think he's also gotten a lot of positive feedback from the exposure they are getting, whether it's playing in Ireland or those things. Or I think that all of that has kind of fueled his interest, and he's got more bought into it. So you got to think about it, when he got here, there wasn't a lot to be excited about with, especially with the football program. So I think that yeah, I think that that's that's the biggest difference, and he's the one person more than anyone else that can have a real impact on what happens with Georgia Tech, because regardless of Jay Bad or Brent Key or whoever, if there's a push at the top to be good from the school president, that will drive them to hire the right people, whether someone leaves or not down the line, or if it doesn't work out.
Yeah,
And they're aligned, yeah, as Jack Purdy said in the chat, like they are aligned in their vision for what they want Georgia Tech to be. and they want to be playing big boy football. And at the end of the day, we all know at some point this is probably going to turn into a super league or something, and you don't want to be the last one of the last 5 teams circle in the musical chairs when the music stops and there's one chair. Like, you want to be safely in that, and Georgia Tech has the potential to be safely in that if they do well over the next few years.
I'm just reading all this chat. I can't keep up with it tonight. I guess that's a good thing. It means people are actually watching and comment. um,
And I have some plans for the off season for stuff. We'll get through the next couple of weeks with there's a lot going on, but bringing in some different people, doing some different stuff with the YouTube channel as I have a little more time and I'm not going to Georgia Tech every day. It's harder when we have practice and the rotation and going on the road for games and all of those things. So we'll be um, doing lots of stuff
and
with the channel.
I've thought about like inviting um, some of the recruits on to have a little short
Yeah, we
thing on.
would like to do that as well. Get some of
Yeah.
them into the mix.
Here's one you'll like. Who's the most hated coach in Power Four, and why is it Fran Brown?
I think in the ACC, Fran Brown's definitely um, um, Jared coming with the jokes, brother.
That's
You
right.
missed that one. We got on that one early already. Alex was all over that one. Alex made me laugh for 5 straight minutes this morning when he sent me that. Like, no lie, I was like, my wife's like, "Why are you like laughing hard?" And I was like, "Because Alex sent me something so funny that I couldn't even figure it out, like in my brain." Fran Brown, he is. It reminds me a little bit of like Kanye West or like some of these people that are like super intense, like in moments that maybe aren't supposed to be super intense, if that makes sense. I'm not like trying to say he's crazy like Kanye or whatever, but like, no offense to Kanye, but like, um, there's a little bit of like that. Is it a show? Is he acting? Is it real? If it's real, is there something going on there? Like, and yeah, Fran's definitely up there, the most hated coaches. And a lot of people dislike Lane Kiffin. I find him amusing.
I used to dislike Lane. I like him now. I think he kind of tells it like it is, and he don't really care what anybody thinks. Um, I think Fran Brown's like a Deion Sanders without the history of that. Like Deion can basically do whatever he wants to do. Fran Brown's not that guy. So
It
he might.
just comes across as like disingenuous, like being offended about like the band playing when your kicker's warming up or whatever it is, like, or that fake beef with Brent Key. All of that stuff just seems like drumming up drama for like the sake of trying to fire your guys up. And I don't think they need that. Like, their team's not that bad. Like, they're playing a lot better than I thought they would. Um, so I don't know. Maybe he's just like trying to parlay himself into another job. I don't know what it is. Nick, go read the site, but it wasn't the last two. There's a lot more to it. I wasn't talking about Elgin Sessions and Peyton Joseph.
Here we're getting down toward the bottom. But here's a kind of good question. Being around the team, do you kind of notice a difference physically with AJ Artist now that he's been there for 2 years?
Yeah, they're bigger and stronger. They look getting off the bus more like what that was one of the things that a lot of the pro Collins crowd on our board were complaining about compared to the Paul Johnson era. And I thought they didn't look. I thought they looked like tops at times with Coach Lou and that group. They were very like kind of. They looked like they were like doing training. I watched this stupid movie. Is like a rom com movie, and the guy was talking about how it was with that hot chick Sydney Sweeney, and the dude, and it was like talking about he couldn't swim because he just does like training to make himself look buff. He doesn't actually have any conditioning behind it, and it reminded me of that. Like these guys just looked like jacked, but like they couldn't like squat and bench stuff. Like they didn't do power cleans like when he was here. Like it was bad. And by the way, he's on a staff where another coach just got fired at Charlotte with Biff Poggi, Coach Lou. But and I don't know, maybe Lou was taking his direction from Jeff. I have no idea. But everyone got mad at me when I like made fun of those pictures where the guys were like all oiled up and stuff, and I just thought it was ridiculous. I was like, they took a picture of them just kind of standing here like this, and then one where they were like flexing. Obviously, you're gonna look totally different, even if it's like, post workout, or like, and you go do 100 push-ups and then take a picture of yourself. You're gonna look different than you did if you just came in from like outside in the cold with your jacket on. Like, um, yeah, I think AJ's done a good job, and it was interesting because USF fans were really down on him, but I think a lot of it too comes from the head coach and the culture. And at USF they had a bad culture, and I remember Winky and all these dudes telling me how real AJ was, and like he's a really good guy and is really good at his job. He was at Tennessee with some of the staff, Shearer and Chip Long and Winky all talked the guy up to me. I'm sure they did to Brent as well. And he's done a really good job. He's a nice guy too, quality dude. Everybody likes him.
There's a question on here that I agree with what the premise is, but it'll never happen. It's just talking about getting non-SEC or non-ACC refs for the Georgia Tech game. I don't think that'll ever happen, but I mean that'd be good with me. I don't think either team would agree to that, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean they're all bad, so who knows? Um, there's a question about Peyton. And then Hazen Hudel decommitting. Like, what was the catalyst? Well, Hazen Hudel had a knee injury that he never kind
Yeah,
of.
that had been going on. They let him know that they were there. That was a mutual thing where he would have had to maybe like gray shirt or blue shirt or whatever if he wanted to come to Tech. Um, they were going to take another guard and not another tackle, and so um, unless it was Jahari Medlock, they would have taken Jahari Medlock. But like they were not going to take another tackle, and it wasn't working out. He was struggling in his rehab, and I think they made the right decision for him to go somewhere else and figure it out. And they gave him plenty of time to figure it out. It wasn't like when I broke the news to you guys, it was not. It had been ongoing for a while. Like that was when I was told I could tell you, essentially.
I just got a message from Justin Hazen Hudel. Speak of the devil here. Just
Letting
kind
you
of.
know he's going to Cal.
Well, I sent him when I saw his decommitment. I just said, man, I hate to lose you, but good luck wherever you are, whatever. And he sent me back. I appreciate it. You know,
Yeah,
so
he seems like a good dude.
he's a really good kid. So, um, but yeah, I mean you never know when you come back from a knee injury. You don't know how, especially with being a bigger guy. I don't never know how it's going to pan out in a year or two. So
And
I
they're
hope.
signing what is an epic offensive line class, and they have a room that's pretty stacked. So like, it makes sense that they would have issues, like with just taking a guy to take a guy.
Yeah. I think we've reached the end. There's a question about the linebacker they're trying to flip from LSU. I mean, I think we've
No,
talked
Jaden
about
Breaker.
that. I think we've talked about it on the board. It's kind of
We'll
like
see
a
what happens there. That's a little bit of a long play.
yeah.
We'll see what happens with Brian Kelly there. Like,
Hey, Brian Kelly said yesterday, we'll see you in the national championship next year.
this is the funniest video too. That one had me laughing too. I was like, man, he is like, I'm getting my buyout, and if I don't make it,
He's
I'm
yeah.
not leaving on my own, baby. I'm not pulling a Gus Malzahn and doing a negotiated buyout and leaving. I'm gonna go guns blazing, and
You could tell how like not disappointed the Notre Dame fans were when they lost him. How like what kind of I
he's
don't
not
know.
the world's greatest person. Is it? The story I've always told about Brian Kelly is the reason why Chip Long got fired as their offensive coordinator is Chip has a intense personality, and you could like Brian Kelly was so bad that they had to have like somebody counter Brian Kelly's personality in that job. They couldn't have like another abrasive guy. And so that's why Chip was like the scapegoat there, and they hired Tommy Reese, who was like his assistant. Um, But yeah, hiring that guy in Cajun Country just seemed like one of the craziest things that you could. I mean, I have buddies in the coaching business, like that are not Georgia Tech related, just buddies that are in the business. And since he's got hired, we've been exchanging funny texts and stuff like of him doing the faux Cajun stuff and like being like a pretend like local and his fake accent and all the dancing video and all the different things that he's done that's been just absolutely insane there.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Somebody wants us to do the conference champion. I'll let you go too, Alex, with this. I'm curious. So the 5 conference. So what is the 5th one? The American. All right. So what do we have? We have
SEC, ACC, Big
so we
12,
have
Big 10.
Texas, Georgia. I like Texas. I'm a Longhorn guy. The Big 10 is Penn State and Oregon, right? Oregon. Big game, James. I'm just not going to get my vote anytime soon for a game like that. And I sort of enjoy Dan Lanning's insane energy that he has, like a little bit of a maniac. Well, the Big 12 ones is the one that I'm not. Is who is that? Iowa State and somebody or
Iowa
Arizona
State,
State?
Arizona State, yeah. I was hoping Dion was going to slide in there, but they didn't get the
And where is that game
nod.
being played? Do you know? Is it in
Uh,
Vegas
let's see.
or is it a neutral? Is it a home? Is it a home game for somebody?
I'm sure it's neutral.
Is it in Dallas?
Let's see here. Yeah,
I feel like
it's at AT&T. It's at
Jerry World.
Yeah.
Um,
Arizona State's playing pretty dang good football
I would
right
say
now.
Arizona State. Yeah, like in that one. Clemson, SMU. I'll go with the ponies. I enjoyed all the people that yelled at my friend Chris Hall on the board when he was telling you all that SMU would be a problem in the league, and when I picked them to win 10 games at the beginning of the season. He wants Boise State, UNLV. Give me I'll go with the Blue Turfers. Is it at Boise State? Don't they play that? Then that one's I feel like in.
That's a good question.
I feel like that one's in Boise. I just think SMU's like kind of clicking right now. Yeah, it's in Boise. I'll take the Blue Turfers there. I do like that UNLV offense though. SMU's, yeah, they've looked good. I've watched them some this year, not a ton.
ACC certainly wants.
We'll let Alex pick. You want Alex to pick on the spread so you guys can go gamble against it
Yeah.
if you guys are going to a casino.
I hadn't looked at the spreads, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think SMU is a better team than Clemson. I think Texas might get. I feel like Texas is going to get Georgia the second time around. Let's
Is
see.
that with your head or your heart, Alex?
I mean, I really think Texas is playing really good. Their defense is really good, and people talk about Sark and how good their offense is, but I think their defense is really, really good. They've become very good, in the trenches, in just his 2 or 3 years, the last 2 or 3 years. Let's see, who am I don't know. I think Penn State. They were just like a couple of plays away from beating Ohio State. So
they're also a couple of plays away from losing to Minnesota last week.
True.
We were watching that game in the press box at the Oklahoma game.
So yeah, I mean, Oregon probably win that game. Penn State's going to make the playoffs, which is good for one of my futures. That probably the only one of my 4 teams that's going to actually make it into the playoffs.
Yeah, and then they'll get like some poor team is going to have to go to like State College on a playoff road game in December. That and then late December too, right before Christmas. That'll be a fun trip for somebody.
Maybe Georgia. Who knows? I'd be okay with that. Yeah, Boise State's good. That
Jonty or whatever his name
really
is.
Good.
Here's the thing I was telling you guys about. They sent me. This was before the season. They sent me this like DVD of his plays, and it had like their schedule on the back, and like they were one of the only schools that sent this out to like Heisman people. They even sent me a little sticker in it. Maybe I'll give that away. at some point of maybe we'll do that like at a holiday show. I'll give away like some of the crap that I get from. I have my one of the few other ones I got is if everyone remembers Ed Oliver from Houston. Back on my shelf back here, I have a Ed Oliver riding a horse bobblehead. That's pretty cool.
He got in a fight, or like he got in a. What happened there? He got in an arguing match or something with a coach. What was it? Tom Herman when he was there? Something about
Yeah,
a.
there's something.
He was trying
Got
to wear a
all
jacket.
unhinged at the end. Yeah, like with him.
Uh, Talk
He
about a
was a
fall.
hell of a player, though.
Yeah, he was. I think he was with the
Is he in the
Bills.
NFL now? Still, I don't know.
I think he might have been with the Bills. He might still be with the Bills.
We're missing a snow game, I think, too, right now.
Yeah, it's crazy right now in Buffalo. Yeah, I think Arizona State will be Iowa State too. I don't know if I said that one. I like their coach, young Dillingham's a young. I think he's going to be a really good one for a long time.
Oh my God! I just realized it's not a DVD. It's just like a piece of paper that looks like a DVD in a jewel case. That's awesome. I thought it was like an actual disc until Barry asked about that. And
yeah, that's what I see.
It's actually like a fake disc. That's so funny. Here it is. It's like a piece of paper.
Don't put that in your DVD player.
No.
I see Will's
video
comment.
game number. Oh, I get it. So it's a play on him being a video game number player.
Yeah.
So the idea is it's supposed to be like an Xbox game, not a DVD. Got it.
I see Will's comment about the. I remember that vaguely. Something about he wanted to wear a jacket, and one of the coaches they got in an argument about.
Oh yeah, he was hurt.
Yeah,
and they were having like a mediocre season, and he decided to like hang it up in the middle of the season or something. He had like an injury that was the coach, like Tom Herman, didn't believe he was hurt enough or something. And I have no idea. Maybe he was hurt, but like I feel like that was what happened. Apologies if we're wrong about that, but that's my vague recollection of that. Yeah. I also have still have a box of Josh Pastner bobbleheads with the face mask from COVID, and then a bunch of Nell Fortner ones. If anyone wants any of those too, we can give those out later this year in our holiday show.
Apparently, there's a highlight on here of J.P. Mason had a long run in the snow tonight.
Nice.
So, but yeah, well, I think we've reached the end of the list here.
Well, I appreciate everybody for joining us. Thanks for those of us who've been pushing out the promo. We are second in the Rivals company, and most people to sign up with their promo behind Oklahoma.
Is that does that go through Cyber Monday, or is that in tonight?
Yeah, so this will go on through. Hold on. Let me be 100% sure.
But I'll have
the final day of the promo is Monday. So yeah, like Monday at midnight Eastern, I guess, or like maybe 1 a.m. Central. That's when that bad boy will go off. But if y'all know tech fans, if you're on here and you're not subscribed, it's $25 for a year. Like, come on. If you don't love it, you can cancel at the end of the year and not be charged again. Most people tend to like what we do and support us. So it helps us out. It pays way more than doing a YouTube show would in terms of our having steady income for the business. And thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. And we will see you all very soon. Hopefully, maybe after a couple of basketball dubs and top 20 finish it for Georgia Tech football recruiting.
That's right. Big signing day coming up this week. So,
yep, still some surprises out there. Keep your fingers crossed, Tech fans. Could get a big finish here. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.